Nymphs, welcome back to Yggdrasil. My name is Michelle, and today I am going to be talking about the difference between borderline personality disorder and quiet borderline personality disorder. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, turn the bell on if you're feeling risky, comment below anything I might have gotten wrong or anything you'd like to add. I would love to know. Make sure to become a member. It starts at 99 cents. You get early access to my videos, you get to pick my videos, and many more other perks. Thank you so much to each and every one of my members. I appreciate each and every single one of you every single day. Thank you so much for watching this video as always, and enjoy. It's believed that there are multiple types of categories in borderline personality disorder, including discouraged borderline, impulsive, petulant, self-destructive, and quiet. It's estimated that 1.6 of the adults in the US population have BPD, or borderline, but the number might be as high as 5.9%, and nearly 75% of people diagnosed with BPD are women, although recent studies suggest that men might be equally as affected, but are commonly misdiagnosed with PTSD or depression. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM-5, describes borderline as a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image, and effects with marked impulsivity beginning in early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, according to the American Psychiatric Association. Patients with borderline personality disorder are typically terrified of abandonment, whether it's real or imagined. Frantic efforts to avoid such abandonment are prominent in BPD. These intense fears of abandonment can occur even when the patient is experiencing the separation. For example, a patient might panic or become angry when their therapist is out of town, even if the vacation was previously announced and alternate resources were provided. Another symptom of BPD is frequent and intense changes in relationships. Often patients will strongly love, then strongly hate partners, relatives, doctors, and others. It's also characterized by identity problems, such as weak or distorted sense of self. It can be manifested through things like drastic changes in interests, goals, or values. They might undermine their efforts and destroy relationships or quit school right before graduation. Impulsivity is another symptom. It could be damaging and relate to things like substance abuse, reckless driving, gambling, binge eating, unsafe intercourse, or unwise spending. Patients with borderline frequently feel a strong sense of emptiness. But what about quiet borderline? While many people heard of borderline personality disorder, a lesser known and sometimes more difficult to treat condition is quiet BPD. It's not formally recognized as an actual subtype of BPD, but it's used to describe those who meet the criteria for a BPD diagnosis but don't truly fit the textbook profile. Quiet BPD can be much more difficult than BPD to both diagnose and treat. But as with many mental conditions, the earlier it's diagnosed and intervention is started, the more successful treatment can be. Quiet BPD is very similar to typical BPD. The main difference is that with quiet BPD, you tend to internalize emotional struggles and episodes, but people with regular BPD have intense impulsivity, anger outbursts, and episodes of anxiety and depression that are obvious to those around them. Turning anger inward is more typical of quiet BPD. Because struggles and anger outbursts are often internal, quiet BPD is much more difficult to diagnose. In fact, it often goes undiagnosed or misdiagnosed for years. Sometimes quiet BPD is also referred to as high-functioning BPD, but the name is actually largely inaccurate. From an outward perspective, someone with BPD may seem fine and completely able to cope with daily life, but in fact, they're generally trying to survive as an individual. However, they're generally trying to survive an individual private experience that has been excruciating and very difficult to manage. Yet another name for quiet BPD is discouraged BPD. People with quiet BPD might feel very intense emotions like anxiety, anger issues, fear of abandonment, being emotionally attached or obsessive, mood swings, intense self-doubt, guilt, self-blame, and sometimes rage. The National Institute of Mental Health, or the NIH, describes borderline personality disorder as marked by erratic mood swings, poor self-image, impulsive behavior, extreme black and white thinking, and an inability to maintain stable interpersonal relationships. Episodes of heightened anger, depression, or anxiety are other hallmarks of the disorder. Symptoms of quiet BPD can last from a few days to a few hours, while classic BPD is characterized by episodes of obvious violent outbursts. People with quiet BPD often direct violence inward instead. Those with quiet borderline typically have less hostility and fewer aggressive outbursts, but there may be still isolation and self-injurious behaviors or even unalive attempts. People with quiet BPD still experience the intense emotional roller coaster that distinguishes the disorder, but they work hard to shut these emotions down or push them aside. Very often, their sense of self is marked by shame or self-hatred. So what are some signs and symptoms of quiet borderline personality disorder? Quiet BPD has some distinct and common signs and symptoms. While classic BPD symptoms may include outward rage, anger, and other destructive behaviors, quiet BPD can look very different. A person with quiet BPD might become obsessed with somebody and wanting to spend unhealthy amounts of time with them, developing unhealthy boundaries, unstable relationships, engaging in SH behavior, engaging in self-isolation or avoidance, giving others the silent treatment, directing anger, aggression, or hostility inward, like having a harsh internal critic, feeling hopeless all the time, having an intense fear of rejection, having a disturbed self-image, developing a pattern of first idealizing, then devaluing others, having mood swings that are invisible to others but can last for hours to days on end, intense emotional dysregulation, taking things very personally, feeling like others are mad at you, having distorted or racing thoughts, self-sabotaging in a way that holds you back from reaching your goals, intense fear of being alone but simultaneously pushing others away, finding it difficult to talk about your feelings, being triggered, which leads to internalized emotions that you can't control, feeling empty or numb, people-pleasing, even if it's detrimental to you, derealization, dissociation, or depersonalization, which is commonly described as feeling like you're living in a dream or outside of your body, believing that your feelings are wrong and trying to suppress them. So what causes quiet borderline personality disorders? While there's no known clear cause for classic or quiet BPD combination, experts believe there is a combination of genetics, brain structure and function, and environmental and social issues may come into play. Many therapists point out the fact for some that there is a history of childhood trauma or abuse as a root cause for the disorder. Some potential causes for quiet BPD may be the result of a family history of various personality disorders, history of other mental health conditions like anxiety disorders, bipolar disorder, eating disorders, substance abuse, depression, etc., history of neglect, abuse, trauma, or abandonment in childhood. Unfortunately, there are a lot of common complications coming with having quiet BPD. Possibly the biggest side effect of quiet BPD is the fact that many people stay silent with their struggles, in part due to an incredible fear of putting a significant burden on their loved ones and friends around them. However, when BPD isn't effectively treated, symptoms can and do drastically worsen over time. People with quiet BPD may find it hard to sustain maintain a productive role at school or work. When not treated, quiet BPD may result in impulsively acting out, gambling, substance abuse, uncontrolled spending, and other destructive behaviors that can interfere with daily functioning at school or work. People with quiet BPD have difficulty establishing, maintaining interpersonal relationships. Unstable interpersonal relationships are a common symptom of quiet BPD. When you have quiet BPD, it can be difficult to emotionally connect to others. You may find that a fear of being hurt causes you to push people in your life away when they try to get close. There's also commonly the fear of being alone at the same time, which can make things even more unbearable. Because quiet BPD symptoms are turned inward, they can result of thoughts of SH or unalive. If someone you know is having unalive thoughts, it's essential to take these feelings seriously. Things like calling 911, staying with them, making sure they don't have access to guns, medications, knives, or anything else that they can harm themselves with. Listen to them. And don't judge them, yell at them, threaten them, or argue with them. How do people get diagnosed with quiet BPD? Because people with quiet BPD don't exhibit the classic explosive symptoms that BPD does in some cases, it can take much longer to get a proper diagnosis. This is particularly troubling when symptoms involve SH. Even though there are actually quiet BPD symptoms listed in the DSM, they're often overlooked. Unfortunately, it makes it much more difficult for people to get a proper diagnosis. For those who haven't been properly diagnosed with quiet borderline personality disorder, it's common to end up feeling invisible and misunderstood. This makes the disorder harder to live with and can lead to more episodes of SH and lower self-esteem. However, only a licensed mental health professional is qualified to make a quiet BPD diagnosis. Quiet borderline personality disorder can be diagnosed by frantically trying to prevent abandonment, whether it's actual or perceived, having history of unstable relationships that involve idealizing them and devaluing someone, having an unstable self-identity, engaging in risky or impulsive behavior, SH or unalive ideation, frequent or rapid mood swings, chronic sense of emptiness, having uncontrollable or intense anger, and again, disconnecting from yourself from things like dissociation. Some tips for coping with quiet BPD would be to try reaching out to a professional, confiding in someone that you can trust, being mindful of emotions, eating a healthy diet, using positive coping statements or mantras, increasing your tolerance for uncertainty, identifying additional self-soothing practices, medication, dialectical behavioral therapy or DBT, cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, and mentalization-based therapy or EBT. If you have someone in your life who's living with quiet BPD, you can help support them by asking questions and really listening to their answers, being sympathetic, trying to validate their feelings, encourage them to use self-soothing strategies, discuss family or group therapy appointments, set healthy boundaries in relationships, celebrate their wins, encourage mindfulness techniques, and take care of yourself and manage your own stress so you can be there for them. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, turn the bell on if you're feeling risky, comment below how you feel about this situation, anything I got wrong or you would like to add, I would love to know. Or your experiences. It would be definitely very educational for myself. Thank you so much to each and every one of my members. I appreciate each and every one of you every single day. Make sure to consider becoming a member. It starts at 99 cents. You get early access to my videos. You get to pick my videos and many more other perks. Thank you so much for watching this video as always, and goodbye.